Hello everyone and welcome back to my tutorial series on how to create a 3D platformer in Unreal Engine 5. So last we left off, we set up the project as well as our action inputs, as well as going over the basics of the template, as well as how we can edit it and change it. In this episode, we're just going to be tweaking the movement to make it feel a bit better, as well as adding a double jump animation. And from there we will see how far we'll get, but we'll probably only tackle the sliding and such in the advanced movement tutorial, which will come a bit later. So without further ado, let's start. Okay, so here we are in Unreal Engine in your project as per normal. So what we're gonna want to do is we're gonna want to open up our BP player or whatever you've named it, and we're going to want to come to the character movement panel, component, sorry. And in here, this will handle all of our characters' movements and how they interact with the world. So that includes our movement speed, jump velocity, as well as swimming and flying speed if we have that in our game. Okay, so first let's go over what the template has given us. So starting first, you can see these little arrows on the right side. These mean that the values have been changed from the default. So with a gravity scale of 2.5, that is adjusting how much gravity is affected. So essentially this is saying gravity is affected by 2.5 times. And with that, our character will feel much heavier. And as you can see here, we've got the mass, which is of the character as well. So with that can, if we put, let's say we double this and make it 200, we can put that back down to 1 and we'll have a similar feeling effect. But for now, the gravity feels good with this current mass, so we won't change that. We might at a later date, but for now this is fine. What I do want to change is the movement speed. So currently it's set at 750 centimeters a second. So we're going to bring that down to maybe 600, maybe 500 to give it a bit more of a slower feel. But change this to how you want. So let's go 600. Click enter, compile and save. And let's see what that's like in the game. So I'm just going to move this to the screen. So now you can see our character feels not as zoomy. Maybe I might even bring it down further. But if you look carefully at how the character runs, they're sliding on the floor. It's almost as if there's no friction. So let's change that. Let's open back up our BP player. And I'm going to first drop the speed to maybe 500. And this max walk speed, that is if we're crouched, this crouched variable. So let's halve that. So at when we're crouching, we're at 250 centimeters a second. So about the friction, let's just type friction in here and see what results we find. Okay, so here's all the friction we have in the game. And these are all the defaults that this template has given us. So the braking friction is how fast your character comes to a standstill. It's fine, let's leave it at 1. But this ground friction is what we want to change. We're going to want to reset this back to the default of 8. I found that feels pretty good, but you can obviously fiddle with it, find what works best for you. And let's just compile and save and see how much better that looks. So when our character moves now, look how much better they look. It no longer looks like they're sliding everywhere, which is great for us. Okay, next let's move on to the crouching functionality. Now, we don't have a crouch animation set up, but we could tick this. This tells Unreal Engine that the character can crouch if we press the crouch button. So let's just go to our crouch input action over here, and off here we can just type crouch and set the functionality. So Unreal Engine has this functionality already for us, so that if we want to crouch, we can just press the crouch button and technically our character will crouch. So off completed, type uncrouch, so that it tells the game that we're stop crouching. Now this is more of a hold crouch, which I'm not a fan of. So I'd prefer if we did a flip-flop. Now a flip-flop is basically a switch. So on A, it will do one thing, and if we press the same button again, it will do the other thing. So let's just drag off here, off our print string, and type in flip. Oh god, sorry about that. Flip-flop, and it's this one that looks like a weird slanted N. So on A, so this is our first press. On A we will crouch, and then on B we will uncrouch. So let's just break those by pressing Alt on them, and now that is done. So let's remove this and move it to the end, so we can see how this would work once we've set up our animations. So on here we will say we are crouching, and then on here we will say we are uncrouching. Compile and save, and let's test it out. We won't see the animation, but technically we will crouch. So I set to C, so you see how the camera dips. That's telling Unreal Engine that technically we're crouching. We press it again, we're uncrouched. And as you can see, we move a bit slower when we're crouched, and then when we uncrouch, we go back to full speed. Great, let's move on. Okay, so let's move on to jumping and how the jump feels. So go back to our camera to movement component and just type in jump. So we can see here how many jumps, which is this max apex attempts, which we don't want to fiddle with, but I'll show you something else we can fiddle with, and this air control. So basically what this air control is, the higher the value, the more control we have in the air. At default it's 1, well no, not at default, sorry, in this template it's 1, but default is 0.05, which is a bit low. So let's bump it up to maybe 3 and see what that feels like. At the same time, I just want to find jump, no, max, no, I'm on the wrong thing. Okay, so I want to show you something that we can fiddle with that will allow you to make jumping more iterative. So they've given us this try to multi-jump, which is a custom event that Unreal Engine has created, but let's just break the link for now and go over here and just type jump. So that gives us the basic default jumping in Unreal. But if we come to our root component, this one right at the top here, and we type in jump, we can come all the way down here to this jump max count. So in your project it will be 2, and I've just set it to 3 quickly to show you something. So you know how we were double jumping? Well, now we can triple jump with it set to 3, and we can continue doing that, say set it to 5, 6, 7, whatever. Now this jump max hold time is if you're holding the button down, it's that amount of seconds to reach the apex. So it's sort of like a, if I was to put this up to like 3 seconds, it would be more like a hover pack, and you would float up for 3 seconds. So we don't really need to fiddle with that, as it's good as is. I might even set it a bit lower, as we are going to be focusing more on the jump height and such to deal with that, rather than how hard we can hold it. But if you wanted a jump pack mechanic, that is something we can look at, but for now that's fine. Now we're going to look at this jump Z velocity, which is how much thrust is given to our character on the double jump as well as the single jump. So 350 is a bit low, so maybe let's put 400 and see what we get. Now with all those changes made, let's compile and save, and you can see. So we've got 3 jumps, as I showed you, 3 jumps, all great. And we have a bit more air control when we're jumping. That's with the upgrade of the iteration. And we've also got a bit of a higher jump with upgrading the Z velocity. So you see how when I'm holding down the space, we get this sort of jetpack feel to it, which isn't great, but we can change that to maybe a bit lower, and that will stop giving us this sort of floaty feeling. So let's change that now. Go back into your BP player and go all the way down to this jump max hold, and let's put that to something lower like 0.2, and just test it quickly by compiling and saving. And let's see, so if I hold it, see, much better. I'm not getting this weird floaty feeling, and I prefer that, but you can do it as you please, and we'll see how this goes. See, and then we can still dash in the air, which is great. Okay, so quickly let's do that double jump animation and then we'll be sorted. So there is multiple ways to do this. With the jump as is, let's try it this way. First, I'm going to put this back to try to multi-jump, as I'm not going to have the triple jump functionality in my game. I don't really want that. I prefer the character to have a glide, which we will add a bit later. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the double jump with animations working. So let's open up our content browser. I'll bring this back onto the main screen. And we shall go to not third person. We're going to go to character, mannequins, here we go. Unarmed jump, and we're just going to use this jump as the target, so that we get the same animation rather than our character still being floating. So what we're going to do is right click on it, go create animontage, and we can name it whatever you want, but we're just going to leave it like that for now. Save it, happy days. Okay, so let's go ahead and implement this. So with changing the double jump, so as we have it currently, the character does play a second animation, and I had to look at the code to figure out why. So you see the character does do that double jump animation, which is great, so that saves us some trouble, but we might need to change that in the future. So let me just show you how quickly we can change that and how easy it is to implement. So let's open up our BP player. Now we're going to get rid of not get rid of, but just disconnect try multi-jump for now, and we're going to be using standard Unreal Jump. So what we're going to do first is we're going to, under the main component, it keeps track of how many times we've jumped. So we're just going to type in jump current and we'll get jump current count. So what we're going to do then is we're going to check to see if it's less than or equal to 1. And if it is, I'll explain this. We'll just drag off this red pin, get a branch, connect it here. Okay. Then drag off true. I'll explain this as soon as I'm done here. So play montage. We're gonna need in the play montage our character's mesh, and then the montage, which is this jump montage we created earlier. So basically what happens is when we jump the first time, while in the air, we're gonna check by pressing space again, and when we're doing that double jump, it's gonna check the current jump count, and if it's less than or equal to 1, it is then going to play the montage of the jump again. So it more sort of fakes, it gives the illusion of the double jump rather than the animation pushing the double jump. So let's see what it looks like in Engine. So there we go. See, look how nice that looks. And we don't have those trails, which is from the try multi-jump event. But there we go. That's basically how you do it. So with how that is set up, we can obviously do this with multi-jumps. So if we were to change the maximum jump count here to 3, it would do this every time until we're back to landing, and then that would obviously, with the event on landed here, this will set it back down to 0. So that is how we can easily do this. But with the try multi-jump that Unreal gives us, it sort of does the same thing by playing that original jump animation altogether. So let's just move this to the side for now. We can use it in a later tutorial, later video if necessary, or if I don't like the multi-jump, we'll see how it goes. That is going to be it for this video, and I hope that all makes sense. If you do have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll try to answer as many as I can, and have fun.